What's going on, your Giants fans? Welcome back to the channel. AGP back again. So today, in a long-awaited video, we're going to talk about the schedule, and I'm going to predict the Giants' record game by game. I'm not going to go over the NFC East opponents twice. I'm going to go over them once because obviously, the first time we verse them, there's going to be questions and stuff like that. We'll go over it. But if you guys haven't already, like, comment, and subscribe. Turn that notification button on so you get notified when a live stream pops or a video drops. I apologize for being barely active here on YouTube. I'm trying to get as much going as I can here. It's the end of my school year, baseball season, stuff like that, and I know I've been putting out the same excuses, even though, I have to do what's right for me and start producing content for you guys. So, let's finally get into it. Week 1 against the Denver Broncos at home, 4:25 p.m. I don't know if this is a Fox game. I think it is. With that being said, it could either be a showcase game or it could be one of those games where they just, put random broadcasters out there. What I'm trying to say is they'll put random broadcasters or it's going to be Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. Nonetheless, that's not what we're focusing on in this video. What we're going to be focusing on is what are the questions, some concerns, the talent, and do the Giants win this game or they lose this game? So, some key pieces on the defense and the offense. Let's start with defense because I think that flashes more to me, to be honest with you. Patrick Surtain, they drafted within the first round. Von Miller and Bradley Chubb, both pass rushers, are coming back. Ronald Darby, Kyle Fuller, Bryce Callahan. Fuller, they signed him, or I think they actually claimed him off waivers from the Bears after they cut him. And it's, I guess, starting to look a little similar to the defense they had in Chicago. Hopefully it works for them. Hopefully it doesn't. In the case that I'm a Giants fan, I wouldn't wish any harm on them, but I would like to beat them week 1. You know what I'm saying. So with that being said, on the offense, Teddy Bridgewater obviously is likely their quarterback. I can't say that he is 100% their quarterback because of injury issues. May bug him again. I don't know. This is how many months out, so we are just seeing what's on paper right now and predicting. We don't have any crystal balls, so we can't predict the future. So with that being said, let's go on to other offensive pieces. They have a nice O-line, in my opinion. I don't watch film. I don't see how they play it. I got to do more research into it. But talent-wise, it doesn't look that bad. Other than the fact that Juwan James actually got cut from them after suffering a season-ending injury, which obviously, we'll talk about on Monday because there's going to be some discussions, should they have done that? Is Juwan James going to file a grievance? Stuff like that. That's going to be another day. But Garrett Bowles, he had a pretty good season last year. Dalton Risner, the second-round pick, the pick I think that we actually gave them via the Seahawks in terms of that with DeAndre Baker trade and stuff like that. Dalton Risner, or either I'm wrong on that. But anyway, second-round pick from 2019, Lloyd Cushingberry, the former LSU center. Graham Glasgow, former, I think, Detroit Lions guard. And right tackle is going to be interesting for them. Bobby Massey and Cameron Fleming will compete for that spot. Other words, in terms of weapons, Tim Patrick, KJ Hamler, Melvin Gordon, and Javonte Williams. I was surprised when they drafted him. But, obviously, I'm not a GM. I'm a YouTube content creator. So in that case, here are some questions, concerns to provide. How good will Teddy be? I tried kind of using it as a pun there. His last name is Bridgewater, for those of you who don't know. How good will Teddy be? Who knows? He was pretty much the, I would say, scapegoat for the offensive problems that happened in Carolina last year. Though he did come out in an interview on a podcast with Patrick Peterson, I believe, and said they did not practice 2-minute or red zone offense, which is key in practice. At least from my football knowledge, it is, and I know that. Will Aaron Rodgers go to Denver? There's a lot of rumors out there. I don't believe it, but if he does go to Denver, that puts more of a challenge on the Giants, but obviously my opinion will change when that happens. Will Vic Fangio be able to prove himself as a coach? Now, the last 2 seasons, I really haven't paid attention to the Broncos situation. I know there's a YouTuber out there that was talking to me early in my career, I would say. He has another channel, but I have to ask him what the situation is. Is it a lack of talent? Is it a lack of execution by the coaches? I don't know personally. I know Drew Lock, obviously, the whole situation with him. Was he holding them back? Is Teddy Bridgewater going to be the quarterback? Is that going to propel them to a playoff team? Because talent-wise, it looks like they're a pretty decent team outside of possibly the linebacking core, but they did draft Baron Browning out of Ohio State. So, with this game, I'm going to say that the Giants win this one. They take it 1-0. There, I think they have a slightly better talented roster. I think the questions at quarterback are kind of concerning. I don't know how Jerry Jeudy will do. And obviously, once again, we have a full preseason. But is Drew Lock going to be there? Is Teddy Bridgewater going to be there? Is Vic Fangio going to be finally ready to take on year 3? Is he going to prove himself? There's a lot of questions surrounding this Denver Broncos team. And I just feel like the Giants, knowing that they came off a better season last year, are slightly the better team. So with that being said, let's go to week 2 against Washington. Giants face Washington, Thursday Night Football. Washington is coming over from LA in terms of the Chargers, so it is going to be a hefty trip for them. Giants travel a little bit closer, well, obviously a lot closer than Washington does because they are coming back from the West Coast. Key pieces. D-line, I can't even say, oh, this person, this. Everyone contributes. Daron Payne is one of them. Jonathan Allen, Chase Young, all the pass rushers they have there in the interior and the exterior, they're all great guys. And they make that defensive line. If it wasn't, and a lot of people say this, a lot of people say that, Chase Young is the only reason that the defensive line is recognized. I can't really say that for all sureness or fairness. Chase Young is the flashy piece, but let's remember that the defensive line in the interior is pretty good as well. Matt Ioannidis, Jonathan Allen, those guys. They did draft Diami Brown out of UNC, I believe. They added a weapon. Curtis Samuel, they signed in the offseason. Kendall Fuller as their number 1 corner on defense, and William Jackson on offense. One question to me is who will be their left tackle? They signed Charles Leno from the Bears, and they also drafted Sam Cosmi, a tackle, I think out of Texas, I want to say. If I'm wrong, once again, I apologize. So it's going to be interesting to see who their left tackle is. They reacquired Eric Flowers. I don't know why you would do such a thing. Looks stupid. Even today, if you said that to me about 5 years ago, I'd say, you know what? You don't know what you're talking about. But once again, they reacquired Flowers. They still have their center in Chase Rollier. They still have Brandon Sheriff at right guard and Morgan Moses as a right tackle. So that's a pretty decent line. But they rank middle of the pack. My next question is, does Fitz still have his magic? He's 39 years old. He had a couple of games last year, which were good with the Miami Dolphins, replacing Tua Tagovailoa at certain times due to injury, benching, whatever. I thought that if they would have kept him the starter the whole season, they would have been a playoff team. Now, once again, you have to choose between developing your quarterback and being a winning team. And Brian Flores, he's got to make a better decision in terms of that. If we were going back to last year, but this year, he's probably going forward with Tua Tagovailoa, unless Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson heads to Miami. What is the energy like in a short week? They're coming back from the West Coast. Is it going to be a tiring trip for them? Is it going to be a loss there? Is it going to be a win there? Is it going to be good momentum? Obviously, that affects a team. And Joe Judge or someone said that they didn't believe in momentum. I believe in momentum, honestly. I think it is a good thing. I think it could be a bad thing as well, but we'll see. So with that game, I'm going to say they lose, even though a lot of Giant fans are saying that they're going to be, erupting in the stadium in terms of Giant fans are going to take over the stadium. I honestly think that the Giants are going to lose that one. I think that they'll actually take the Week 18 game against them at home, but Washington, in my opinion, upgraded enough to at least beat us once a year. If they get swept by us once again, we can all go back and say and laugh at our predictions. But right now, I have them beating us Week 2. So the next team is the Atlanta Falcons, another team with a rookie head coach. Actually, the first rookie head coach we face. Denver obviously has Vic Fangio in his 3rd year. Ron Rivera in his 2nd as the Washington football team coach. Now, key pieces, it's most likely going to be on offense. Kyle Pitts, Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones, Mike Davis, and Hayden Hurst. Pitts adds to their tight end core. Mike Davis, as of right now, is their lead back. They also have a couple of backup options that I looked at on the depth chart. Defensively, I don't think they have done enough there. I think they have a lot of young corners. Isaiah Oliver is one of them. They have the guy they drafted a couple of years ago, Kendall Sheffield. I think it's going to be in terms of developing them. I don't know if they want to put a number one corner there, like signing one like Sherman or whatever. But there are a couple of concerns with that defense still. I mean, we can all say Atlanta tradition like a bunch of casuals, but we have to look into, I guess, what is their weakness on defense. So, will Atlanta's defense improve under Dean Pease? Now, I forget who the defensive coordinator was under Dan Quinn, but obviously that defense did not do a good job. Raheem Morris, by the way, is his name, but he was the actually interim head coach when Dan Quinn was fired. But my point is, will they improve under Dean Pease? 2 years ago with the Titans, he did well. Once he left, that Titans defense was absolutely terrible. I think Vrabel was actually the play caller, and that didn't work out too well. That's why I don't have too much confidence in the Titans, though they do have a play caller right now. Will the Giants be able to cover all the weapons on offense? I personally think they will be able to, with some holes and some creaks. Now, you got Ridley, you got Julio Jones, Mike Davis, obviously coming off of last year with the Panthers. I thought he was pretty good, and Kyle Pitts. And I don't know what they're going to run yet. We have how many months to predict and actually see. But with that being said, I think the Giants have enough defensive backs, defensive pieces in total to actually cover the pieces that Atlanta has on offense. And I'm not taking anything away from them. I just think we can cover them. I think that we are like 1.5 to 2 steps ahead in the rebuild. My personal opinion, because they still haven't gotten rid of their quarterback. Whether you agree that Ryan is washed or not, or they need a new quarterback, or Julio Jones needs to be traded, my point is that they're not necessarily on a total rebuild yet because Ryan and Julio Jones are still there. And will Arthur Smith make rookie mistakes? You'll see this in every head coach. You don't just go in there as a new job and say, oh, I know what I'm talking about, this, that, and the other thing, and make no rookie mistakes. Everyone has rookie mistakes. Joe Judge made a couple last year, just like the one against the Cleveland Browns where we were going for a fake punt, but it wasn't really a fake punt. It was more like all the linemen in the end. That was probably one of his worst decisions last year. But with that being said, I'm going to say that the Giants take another victory here. Right now, they win against the Atlanta Falcons. They, so far, improved to 2-1. So, a little more of a challenge following the Atlanta week. They go down to New Orleans. This is a questionable team. I think there's a lot of question marks. Everyone is making predictions. Oh, they're going to be good. They're going to be bad. No Drew Brees, Jameis Winston. We can all make our predictions and debates, but we'll see what happens in September. Now, week 4 against New Orleans. Key pieces. They don't have Drew Brees, so I can't put him on that list. I don't know if I have confidence in Jameis Winston. Me personally, we'll see what happens. Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara. Their O-line is pretty good. Cam Jordan. They drafted Peyton Turner within the last couple of picks in the first round. I thought that was a little bit of a reach, but we'll see what happens. Could the Saints actually pull it out in terms of he's a steal or something like that? We'll see what happens. But I think if you're a winning team, you can afford to reach on players. If you're not a winning team, that might backfire. My personal grievance, not really grievance, but worry, concern if I was a Saints fan is the cornerback depth. Behind the number 1 corner, Marshawn Lattimore, they have Patrick Robinson. Yes, you drafted Paulson Adebo, but is he going to be an immediate impact guy right away? I don't think so. But again, I'm not a Saints fan, so I can't necessarily predict for them. Will Jameis Winston prove to be a starter? We'll see what happens within the first 3 weeks. Obviously, he's got the same set of weapons that Drew Brees worked with. Arguably, and I was going back and forth with Big Pat, Nate, and the Hub a couple of days ago on a live stream saying that this was kind of a similar situation in Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones. You got Devontae Adams, Michael Thomas, good O-line. Then the receivers are not very consistent. Traquan Smith, I still think they have Tommy Lee Lewis. I don't know. Emmanuel Sanders, apparently, according to Big Pat, was a good thing for them, or was, in terms of negativity, was a very big loss for them, but we'll see what happens in the future because Emmanuel Sanders went to the Buffalo Bills. John Brown ended up going, John Brown actually went to the Las Vegas Raiders. But let's talk about the Saints more. Can the Giants stop the running attack? This is going to be a very interesting thing for them. Alvin Kamara has proven that he's a good back. I think he needs to do a lot more against good defenses. The Bucs kind of shut him down last year. So that's my concern if I was a Saints fan, but I think the Giants can somewhat hold him, but I wouldn't be surprised if he goes at least 100 yards against us. Not saying our defense is bad or anything, but Kamara is a good back. We'll see what happens within the first 3-4 weeks and in this game as well. And now, will the New York Giants get past the New Orleans defense? As I mentioned, they do have some holes at cornerback. Their linebacking core is pretty good, Demario Davis, and the defensive line, I think it's good. They did lose Trey Hendrickson, their second best pass rusher, top pass rusher from 2020, but we'll see what happens there. I predict that, honestly, the New York Giants pull this out. I think this is going to be a tough game. I think this is going to be a game where the Giants just pull it out. It's going to be a very close game, but I think that the defense, my personal opinion, will confuse the hell out of Jameis Winston. I know he got surgery 2 years ago to fix his eyes, but I think he's not going to be ready for what the New York Giants have on the table. So hence, the New York Giants start out the season 3-1. Let's go to the Dallas Cowboys, Week 5. Hence, we played them Week 5 last year. So, they have a lot of key pieces on offense. Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott, Michael Gallup. My biggest, or one of my biggest concerns, how will Dak feel a year after his injury? Mike McCarthy said he's going to be ready to go to camp. Hopefully that happens for them. For us, I wouldn't, once again, wish anybody harm, but would you rather, as a Giants fan, see Dak Prescott or their backup QB, in which I don't even know who the hell their backup QB is? So we'll see. Their O-line poses a lot of questions to me, honestly, because 2019 they were good, and I'm not saying it's the Mark Colombo effect, but they had Tyron Smith injured last year. They had Zach Martin partially injured last year. Their center, it was flip-flopping between Joe Looney and Tyler Bidash. The right tackle, La'el Collins, was out last year. It was a shit show for Dallas Cowboy fans. And we beat them once at the end of the season because Andy Dalton was the quarterback. A couple other reasons why, but that's not what the topic is right now. What will the revamped defense look like is my third question/concern. I think it is not going to be as good as everybody predicts. A lot of people say, oh, well, they drafted 2 corners, Nasan Wright and the other guy. My point is that they lost Chidobe Awuzie. Go back to 2019 when they had Byron Jones. Now, you go to the next season when you have Chidobe Awuzie as the number 1 corner. You go to this season, Jordan Lewis is your number 1 corner. So have that, Trayvon Diggs, and a couple other guys. And I'm not saying that they don't have talent. That's not what I'm saying. It's just that, are they going to be an immediate impact? And are they going to be right there? And if they are an immediate impact, are they going to be good? Personally, I don't think so. So, nonetheless, I think the Dallas Cowboys are actually going to get us. 3-2 record for the Giants. I think we lose that game. I think that their offense slightly overpowers our defense. They did that in Week 5. I think they'll do it again in Week 5. Something will happen, and the Giants will lose. So, Week 6 against the LA Rams. This is an interesting team. Everyone's predicting them to be a Super Bowl caliber team with the addition of Matt Stafford. Key pieces, most notably on offense and defense as well. Aaron Donald, how do you forget about him? Cam Akers, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Tutu Atwell, they drafted, I think, in the 2nd or 3rd round. Matt Stafford, their quarterback. Leonard Floyd, Jalen Ramsey. Good defense, good offense. I can't see why they wouldn't make the playoffs this year. Maybe the NFC Championship if they could get past some other teams. Maybe the Bucs are a team that holds them up. We'll see what happens, but once again, that's not the topic of this video. Topic of a different video. Will this be a Super Bowl caliber team? I guess we can actually sink it back now. We don't know. We can only predict right now. I think they will be a Super Bowl caliber team in terms of a bubble, but I don't think they will make it. I think it will be somewhat Chiefs again, maybe Green Bay, but honestly, if you were to ask me today who would win between Green Bay and LA, I think LA would win because I think they partially have a better run defense. I think they have a better linebacking core overall. Will this defense stay a top 10 threat? I personally think so. You reinstate Leonard Floyd. Jalen Ramsey's back there. Though you did lose Troy Hill in free agency, you have a good cornerback core. David Long's back there. Darius Williams, he's also good. They lost a safety, I believe. I think it was John Johnson to the Browns. But I still think that the defensive coaching is going to be there. Though it is a question, though, because Brandon Staley is now the coach of the Chargers. Will they be able to coach that defense up like he did? I don't know. I can't say. Offense. In terms of the Giants, will they be able to get past that defense? It's going to be interesting. We did see Nick Gates try to fight Aaron Donald last year. He put up a heavy competition, but in terms of, the O-line's growth, they will have to grow in order to beat this team. We can't have, last year where Daniel Jones is constantly on his ass. No running game is, aside from little pops from Wayne Gallman. We don't have Wayne Gallman anymore. We have Barkley. We have a couple other guys. I'll talk about Corey Clement later on. But for right now, this O-line needs to get better, and they need to grow. And if you don't do that in time for Aaron Donald and Leonard Floyd and all the other guys they have, it's going to be a tough game for the Giants. And I'm not going to predict the O-line's growth yet, but I think they will lose this game because the Rams are a better team than the Giants, and they're more advanced. And I think, so far, Sean McVay is a better coach winning-wise. I'm not saying game plans or whatever. I'm not going to go into specifics, but he is more experienced than Joe Judge. They faced each other before, but once again, McVay got that one. Joe Judge didn't because preseason, all the other things, stuff like that. So Week 7 against the Carolina Panthers. By the way, at this point, the Giants, I believe, are 3-3 in the record. Week 7 against the Panthers, key pieces. Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, Terrace Marshall. I really like the Terrace Marshall addition. I really disagree with the Sam Darnold addition, but they have built around him better than the Jets could. Terrace Marshall, you didn't really have to get a third receiver, but they said, you know what, in the second round with the 50-something pick, we'll get Terrace Marshall. Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, Terrace Marshall to replace Curtis Samuel, even though he's not as, I would say, flexible in the offense. Christian McCaffrey, can't forget about him. Their O-line, in my opinion, needs work. But will Carolina take the next step in their rebuild? I think they will, but it's going to be a matter of time, growth, and later in the season. Later in the season, I think they're going to warm up. I have to look at their schedule to a full extent to really determine that. But in that case, I think they're a better team in terms of down the stretch, not when they start. Now, things could happen. They could beat the Giants for all I know. Who knows? Will Sam Darnold succeed as Cam's official successor? I'm going to say potentially. If he uses his weapons properly, the stuff that he wasn't given in New York, I'm going to say yes. If he does what he did in New York and see ghosts, I'm going to say no, obviously. So that is going to be a big question. And also, related to the New Orleans Saints matchup, will they be able to contain, meaning the Giants defense, Christian McCaffrey? They didn't really contain him the last time. McCaffrey, he's an elite receiving threat. He is an elite backfield threat, just overall. They're probably going to use him more, maybe, with Curtis Samuel gone, not being him in the backfield. Now he's in Washington, and they can do whatever they want there. So, I think the Giants are a little bit more advanced. Though I did like what Carolina did last year, I think the Giants more advanced. I think they win this one. So the Giants improve their record to 4-3 with this. Here comes Week 8. This one is going to be interesting, to say the least. Giants against Kansas City on Monday Night Football. Key pieces. Let's name them. Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, CEH, McCole Hardman, Nick Bolton. We'll see what he does. I'm not going to say he's a weapon right away. In terms of a linebacking core, because they did need a good run stopper, Chris Jones, Tyrann Mathieu, Frank Clark. This is going to be the ultimate tester to see what the Giants are. If they're an above-average team, they're going to not really compete. If they're a Super Bowl, playoff threat, whatever, they're going to be either competitive or possibly take this game. It depends, because a win's a win, but at the same time, if you win off somebody else's mistakes and they make a lot of mistakes, how much credit do you actually get? So, can the Giants take advantage of an inexperienced secondary? They just got Mike Hughes. They don't really have a corner one. They do have Charvarius Ward, if I'm saying that correctly. They also have a corner I think they drafted last year. I think that's something the Giants can take care of. But Steve Spagnuolo is a good defensive coordinator. You're not facing the Bucs in the Super Bowl. You're facing the Giants Week 8. primetime on Monday Night Football. So he's not going to prioritize it as much, but I think he will still try to put a game plan out there, try to attack Daniel Jones in terms of defensive looks and getting to the passer. How badly will the Chiefs fall after the Super Bowl loss? I think that they will fall to some extent. I think they'll still be a good team, but we have to know, and we have to keep our knowledge there, that a lot of these Super Bowl teams, they fall after their losses. And it could happen to the Chiefs. They're really not exempt from that. So in that case, I think they will fall slightly. And also, will the Giants be able to stop their dynamic offense? I think they're going to not wreck the Giants. I think they will take advantage of some mistakes against the Giants. And I will say that Kansas City wins this game, no doubt. I think they're a better team. With that being said, they will fall a little bit, but I still think they're better talented and better coached. Because Andy Reid's been in the league for how many years now? Joe Judge has been in the league for 1 in terms of a head coach. So with that, Kansas City beats the Giants. The Giants go to record 4-4. So, Week 9 against the Raiders, Las Vegas, they actually stay home, the Giants. So key pieces, Kenyon Drake, Josh Jacobs, Derek Carr, Yannick Ngakoue. Now, you could point out Henry Ruggs. You could point out all these weapons that they have, supposed wide receivers. I really don't believe in them. Personally, that's my opinion, because I don't think Henry Ruggs did a lot last year. I really don't think that, but despite the big year that Derek Carr had, I don't think their receivers were a lot to talk about. And their defense is definitely not something to talk about. They did sign Casey Hayward from the Chargers, and they also signed Yannick Ngakoue in free agency. I just don't have a lot of confidence in their defense. You know, how many years it's been that they've had a bad defense. They progressively went from bad to worse from Jack Del Rio to John Gruden. And could we make the comparison? John Gruden like Mike McCarthy? Mike McCarthy, after a year out, has seemed to regress as a head coach. And you look at John Gruden coming back from a 10-year hiatus, he really has regressed as a head coach. They have not put together a winning record. So, let's look at it this way in terms of concerns and questions. How will the newly coached Las Vegas Raiders defense look? They don't have a number 1 corner. Actually, they do. Let me go back on that, Casey Hayward. Other than that, they have a bunch of holes in the secondary. In my personal opinion, Trayvon Mullen, really inexperienced. Linebacking core did horrible last year. Kwiatkowski and the other guy, Corey Littleton, the one Giants fans wanted. I wanted him too, but I was wrong on that. Defensive line, I don't think they have great pass rushers other than Ngakoue. Farrell had a good year. Crosby had a good rookie season. I think he had 10 sacks last year, so I'll give him the credit there, but I don't think he's much of a, Yannick Ngakoue where he's going to beat you off the snap. I think it's going to be based on how long the quarterback is in the pocket and how the defense will hold the wide receivers. Not literally hold them, but in terms of just locking them down. I think that's the pass rusher Max Crosby is. How will the O-line departures affect Las Vegas? They did draft Alex Leatherwood, in which I thought was a reach, but with that being said, they lost their right tackle, Trent Brown. They traded him. They released Gabe Jackson. Actually, I think they traded him. And they traded Rodney Hudson, their Pro Bowl center. I don't know how you do that. Their O-line, for the most part, was on high contracts. Gabe Jackson, that whole right side. Richie Incognito, I think he was signed to an extension. My point is that John Gruden, year after year, gets himself in some crap where he has to trade players, where he has to do something or whatever. I think that O-line is going to take a huge step back like nobody's ever seen. I think they could possibly, in my opinion, be one of the worst lines in the NFL. Sure, they could have depth and whatnot, but if you lose like 3 guys on the offensive line on the right side and the replacements aren't as good, I'm going to say that the Giants absolutely overtake them with a pass rush. I think they'll fool Derek Carr by having him land on his ass. Sorry, Raiders fans, that's how I feel. And also, how will the Las Vegas Raiders offense be enough to get past the defense? I don't think they will, because I think their wide receivers are just advertised as good and they're not really good. And, coming off of last year, Ruggs didn't do much. Bryan Edwards didn't do much. Their offense basically didn't do much. In my opinion, it was a lot of the running game. Derek Carr also, he had a good year, but the weapons weren't good. Just because you have a lot of wide receivers doesn't mean they're good. Sorry, I'm going to put it out there. That's just my personal opinion. So with that, Giants take a win against the Las Vegas Raiders, improving their record to 5-4. So, NYG against Tampa Bay, Week 11. They have the bye Week 10. This one is on Monday Night Football. Key pieces: Ronald Jones, Tom Brady, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Shaq Barrett, JPP, Antonio Brown. How will the Giants handle primetime? They're not very good on primetime. They face the Bucs on Monday Night Football. I don't know why they put it as a primetime game, personally speaking, without bias. And with bias, I will say, why would you put us on Monday Night Football against the Tampa Bay Bucs? I personally don't understand that. Once again, that's ESPN for you. That's just the NFL scheduling. I think they're going to have a very tough time. I think Tampa Bay, they have huge amounts of continuity coming from last year. They really didn't have any starters depart. Ndamukong Suh was re-signed, so all their starters basically stayed. They all stayed. So they're going to have a lot of film on different teams. And then again, at the same time, a lot of teams will have film on them because they are very good with their continuity, not having a starter go to a different team. Will the Bucs take a step back? I personally don't think so. I think they're still going to be a good team. Maybe 2 less wins, something like that. But I haven't looked at their schedule, so I can't fully judge to that extent. How will the O-line take the Tampa Bay pass rush? You look at the Super Bowl, and those were a bunch of backup O-linemen. However, the Giants handled them better with a struggling O-line ranked last in pass protection. So with that being said, I think they will handle them better because I think the offensive line will take their next step by that time. It's Week 11. So personally, in my opinion, I think they will take their next step. So, my opinion, the Giants lose that one, and they go to 5-5 on the season. This one I'm going to try to attend. Week 12 against Philly. Interesting matchup. I wonder why it's so interesting. Miles Sanders, Devonta Smith, Darius Slay. Personally speaking, there's not another weapon, or at least someone, personally speaking, that's really important and sticks out to me on that team. My questions are, will Jalen Hurts prove to be a franchise quarterback? That's a question. Does Philly have enough depth on defense to compete? Every year it's, defensive. Oh my God, we don't have the depth. We don't have the depth. Well, draft some depth. They had 12 picks this year. We'll see what happened. At least it was 12 picks to start. Then they traded a bunch of times, and that happened. How will Sirianni do as a head coach? I'm not going to predict how he's going to do, but there is a common saying out there, with your introductory press conference, people get the, I don't know, it's something, I can't remember the phrase right now, but it's like your first introductory press conference and your first impression is basically how your tenure is going to go. And I don't think it will be good. Biased and unbiased, personally speaking. So I think the Giants actually take the win there. They improve the record to 6-5. Week 13 against Miami. This is a pretty even, if not slightly more advanced in the Miami standard because they were a winning team last year. Key pieces: Jalen Waddle, Devontae Parker, Mike Gesicki. They do have some pieces on the O-line. I think they drafted Liam Eichenberg in the second round. Apparently, they're going to shift him to guard. At least the depth chart I was looking at, I don't believe that too much because they did lose a guard with Eric Flowers gone. But I think if you put Eichenberg in there, I think he's going to be better. So, will Tua Tagovailoa progress as the franchise quarterback? This is his second offensive coordinator, probably the same system in terms of familiarity. I don't recommend having a second offensive coordinator, but he has a preseason now. They're finally going to go through the motions of mini camps, or mandatory mini camps and training camps and stuff like that, and physical in-person stuff compared to last year. So I think he will take the next step, but I think the Giants can get to him with some pass rush. Which coach is the better Belichick disciple? Right now, it is Brian Flores. Based off of 2-1. Judge has 1 year, Flores has 2. Flores has his team more advanced. Both are probably the only working Belichick disciples, but as of right now, Flores is the better one. But we'll see what happens in the season. For all we know, Miami could freaking suck this year. Will the offense take the next step? Their offense, in my opinion, it's kind of like the Raiders argument, but they have better wide receivers. Just because you have a lot doesn't mean they're good. Jalen Waddle, he's coming off an ankle injury. Also to know, Devontae Parker and Jakeem Grant are still on the team. I think one of them has the potential to be number one. I just don't think they are. So with that, I'm going to say that the Giants win against Miami slightly. Slightly. With that being said, my second to final thing on here is the Chargers, Week 14. Key pieces: Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler. Will Justin Herbert progress in his second year? I think he will with the weapons around him, and also will the O-line be as good as advertised? I think they will be, because I think Brandon Staley will be good as a head coach. Just my prediction, coming from the coaching tree and stuff like that. I think he will be as good as advertised. I also think that the O-line will be as good as advertised. Balaga, the center, I forget his name. I don't know why I forget his name. Corey Linsley from the Packers. Rashawn Slater is the left tackle. That's got to be a good O-line. And with a good running game, that's got to be good offense. Defense, a little bit of questions, but Asante Samuel, I like the drafting of him in the second round. So, I think pretty even teams, but I think the Chargers get to handle this one. They actually get the win here, and if I'm not mistaken, at this point in the game, let me just do my math, the Giants are 7-6 at this point in the season. So with that being said, I'm going to skip over Dallas. I'm going to skip over Philly. They win against Dallas. They lose against Philly. Up to Chicago. I'm not going to talk about them a lot, but key pieces. Allen Robinson, that's basically it in terms of my opinion. How long will the defense hold together? They've been trying to hold it together for the last couple of years. It really hasn't worked in my opinion because constantly the offense sucks. Who will be the QB? Will it be Andy Dalton, or will it be Justin Fields by this time? It is later in the season. Injuries could happen, and I think it could be Justin Fields. It could also be Dalton. I don't know how they're going to do it with the QB system. Matt Nagy, Bill Lazor, those guys. If Bill Lazor's still with them, I know he was their offensive coordinator, or at least their quarterback's coach. And run game or pass game, which will they lean on? I think it's going to be the running game. So far, I mean, that's not really a good strategy if your franchise quarterback is playing, or at least supposed franchise quarterback is playing. If it's Justin Fields, you want to lean on the pass game a little more. In the run game, if you want to lean on it a little more just to give Fields a cushion, it's got to work. Same thing with Andy Dalton. I wouldn't expect them to go all out in the passing game. In the running game, you got Montgomery and you got Cohen, who's coming off an ACL injury. So I do expect them to lean a little more on the running game. Nonetheless, I think the Giants will tire that defense out, and I think that the Giants' defense will stop their offense. Giants win against Chicago, and with that being said, they win against Washington, which makes their record go to 10-7. I think they have a good season. I think that they are at expectations. If they don't, they exceed expectations. I know the over-under right now is like 7 wins for them. I think it's going to be 10. I think they crack out a couple of games. I think they may lose a couple of games they're expected to win, but who cares about that point? To quickly finish up the video, I know this is like 40 minutes. Wow. Quickly finish up the video. Giants recently signed Corey Clement. Obviously, you could see his stats up above. 2017 undrafted free agent. I forget where he came out of, but he's been a decent special teams presence for them. Also to know, he's been their third, fourth running back. I think he's a camp body. I think he makes the roster potentially as like a fourth running back. If Gary Brightwell perhaps doesn't make the roster, is injured, or possibly goes to practice squad, I think he's that guy, and I wouldn't have a problem with that. I do like the signing. They were working out him and Ito Smith in the most recent of rookie minicamps, and I think that both are good running backs as backups, and I would like to see Corey Clement in a Giants uniform in September. We'll see what happens. But guys, if you haven't already, like, comment, and subscribe. Turn that notification button on so you get notified when a live stream pops or a video drops. Long video. Appreciate the real ones who have stayed with it. Have a good night, everybody. See you later. Alright, so I wanted to quickly add on to this video. If I sound a little groggy, I woke up about maybe half hour to an hour ago, so I'm still just waking up a little bit. But the Giants have signed wide receiver tight end hybrid Kelvin Benjamin. Was drafted by Dave Gettleman and the Panthers in 2014. 1,008 yards his first season, 941 yards the second season. Third season, a combined 692 yards among two teams, Buffalo and Carolina. Then another two-team stint in 1 year. Buffalo, he had 354 yards and 26 receiving yards with Kansas City in about 3 games. So with that, I will say that I do not expect Kelvin Benjamin to make the roster. I think that he's trying to revive his career as a tight end. I don't know that it will work, but I think the Giants have way too many good players. I'm not saying, Benjamin doesn't have the potential to revive his career, but what I'm saying is the Giants have better talent at wide receiver and tight end. Tight end, you got Kyle Rudolph, Evan Ingram, and Caden Smith as my early prediction as who's going to make the roster. And then you got wide receivers, Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard, Kenny Galladay, Kadarius Toney, Dante Pettis, John Ross. Those are 6 receivers already that I named that are probably going to make the roster. That's just my personal opinion. We are how many months out, so we have time to change our opinions as fans and content creators as well. But in Kelvin Benjamin's view, he is trying to revive his career. A lot of players in this league, after a 2-year hiatus, really would retire and just say, I got to find another job. It's not easy. But Benjamin has stayed with his dream and is going to, I would say, do whatever it needs, for lack of better words, to get back into the NFL and play for a team. He is probably happy for this opportunity, as I would be, or anyone else would be after a 2-year or 3-year hiatus. But that doesn't mean he's going to make the roster. I honestly think that he won't, because there's way too much depth and good players at wide receiver and tight end. I just don't think he fits the roster. I don't think he is going to really be his first year 2014 self. You're going to be asking a lot by doing that if you're asking him to be his 2014 self. And he's not the number 1 wide receiver or tight end if he does make the roster. So with that being said, and also to factor in, I don't know if the NFL is returning with the 16-man practice squads this year. If they are, he possibly makes the practice squad, but I don't know about that. So with that being said, guys, if you haven't already, like, comment, and subscribe, turn that notification button on so you get notified when a live stream pops or a video drops. Very long video. I apologize. I know the YouTube attention span is not really great. But in terms of that, I wanted to put everything in one video. The Clemens signing is at the end, obviously, of the video. And then Benjamin signed this morning, so I added this on as well. So, guys, stay tuned for a live stream later. Stay tuned for the Boys in the Big Apple podcast tomorrow night. We will be doing schedule predictions for all 32 teams. Peace out, everybody. Thank you.